turns out the Supreme Court has turned down the Pennsylvania case. Again, just breaking before we came back to talk to you. You're probably hearing it from us for the first time, but your reaction, sir?
I'm not sure that I'm overly surprised, although I continue to be amazed and disappointed. So I'm not sure what the next step is on that, but there are other things pending in Pennsylvania that have to be resolved. The legislature's got to work a fix on that. And in reality, I don't think that this is overly surprising to anybody. Shouldn't be anyway.
You know, do we want to institutionalize in this country that the states, that the executives and the judiciary can change laws passed by those in the various state legislatures, the representatives of the people, that those laws can just be changed willy-nilly because the executives feel like it?
You know, that's the real problem in Pennsylvania, is that they disregarded the Constitution. They decided they wanted to change the law. So they, instead of going through the process of amending the Constitution in Pennsylvania, they just, as you said, willy-nilly, they established the law, or dubiously they established a law, and then the courts are not going under the auspices of the Constitution. So it's a real huge problem, not just in Pennsylvania, but around the country, but certainly in Pennsylvania. And don't be surprised if you see a continuation of litigation out of Pennsylvania, because there's so much that went wrong there. And quite frankly, it's disenfranchised voters around the country, because if you can change the laws to impact one state, you dilute the votes of everybody else.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm right there with you, because, you know, that shenanigans that happened in Pennsylvania is going to harm Texas, going to harm Arizona. And you folks in Pennsylvania might as well just fire your legislators now and just let your little dictator, Governor Wolf, run your lives, because that's in effect exactly what he did. Let me turn our attention now to your home state of Arizona, Congressman. What's the latest and the greatest out there as far as these legal challenges? What do you know?
Well, so the Arizona State Supreme Court accepted a special action. That's a fast form of an appeal from the case where the Democrat judge dismissed the case last Friday. So this case is going to be going forward, and it's not, they're not going to allow oral arguments. So usually we think of a case having an oral argument, somebody gets to advocate for the case in front of the justices. Not going to happen here. It's going to be based on the pleadings, memorandum, and the record that's already in place. I think the record, though, is adequate to show that there was anomalies and irregularities, and also just flat-out errors in the count, in the way you did everything from the duplicate ballots to what we call basically electronic adjudicated or digital adjudicated. What that means is that these are ballots that got a digital review. So hopefully the state Supreme Court will expand that, because the remedy can be very broad here. It could be just look at the 86,000 duplicate ballots that showed errors when they did a testing of those, a sampling of those last week, all the way up to ordering a full forensic audit of the entire election. And that's what I've been advocating for since, well, since probably about the 6th or 7th of November.
Congressman Biggs, I'm not exactly sure how many counties in Arizona do this, but I think I remember reading that it's Maricopa is one of the biggest that does this. They just print up ballots right there on the scene. You have no idea how many ballots are out there, and not knowing, not having numbered ballots is really a hindrance to stopping voter fraud, because ballots can just keep on pouring in willy-nilly no matter what's going on, until somebody reaches a desired result in an election. How do you guys tackle that out there in Arizona?
Well, what elections officials are going to tell you, they're going to say, look, in order to print out a ballot, you've got to come in, you've got to show ID, etc. But that isn't always necessarily the case. You can have provisional ballots acted on. We didn't have precinct-directed voting centers this time. We had basically a mishmash of several precincts brought together in voting centers. And so you have this ability to manipulate elections, and that's part of what we see here. But the real crux of this is, Chris, is the same as so many other places. It's in the early ballots, where were these ballots, almost two-thirds of the ballots in Arizona, actually more than two-thirds, but almost 2 million in Maricopa County, were they validated with the affidavit that the ballot came with? And if not, then you have a violation of state law, and those ballots should be tossed. So we need to get to the bottom of that. Then you have the duplicate ballots, which that's where we found the sampling, and there were problems with that. And then then you also need to look at these ballots where they were reviewed, but we didn't have a Republican and a Democrat reviewing them by technology. And by that I mean they take a ballot, maybe an overvote or some other flaw in it, and they just put it up on the screen. And when you put it up on the screen, then it's supposed to be adjudicated or judged the validity of that. Well, you didn't always have a Republican present when that was going on. In fact, about two-thirds of them were without Republicans being present even.
Right, right, and that's bad news. Look, I've only got about 45 seconds, and it's probably not a fair question to ask because I know how complicated this is. As you know, DNI Ratcliffe put out a report saying that there were some members of Congress who have been compromised by Communist China, either through extortion, blackmail, or bribery. What can you tell us? How extensive is it? I know you probably didn't get names, but tell us how worried the American people should be about our own elected officials being compromised by that backward communist country.
Well, we haven't received an official briefing yet, and I've seen some of what DNI Ratcliffe said, as well as additional public records. And so I would just tell you that you should be very concerned because China is not our friend. China is an adversary. And there are people here in Congress that think that China is just great. But most of us are very skeptical of China. And quite frankly, you should be very concerned because the Biden, if Joe Biden actually takes the seat as the president of the United States, there's ample reason to believe that the Biden family is in bed with China, and that is really something that we should be concerned about. And I hope that, I mean, what John Ratcliffe has done as DNI has been good because I trust John Ratcliffe, but I'm not sure I trust the apparatus of the entire intelligence community anymore, and that gives me real concern. Everything from IP theft to currency manipulation to South Seas control and bellicosity, to the fact that China's Navy now is larger than the United States Navy, even though we have a slight technological advantage. It won't be too many years before they match us because they're stealing our technology, and we have people that are facilitating that.
Yeah. Yeah, and not to mention the close to 300,000 Americans who have died because of a virus they lied about and unleashed on the world. Well, a different subject for a different day because we had the breaking news. Congressman, always appreciate